Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome back to I Hate Rock Music. And today I want to talk about a band that's really overlooked named Diamond Rio. Not to be confused with the country band that has the Diamond Rio name with an I. Diamond Rio was a hard rock band out of Pittsburgh. They formed in 1974, and the basic part of their career ended in 1978. But they've done a lot of reunion shows since then, so they're kind of off and on around. And the band was Frank Zuri, Bubs McKaig, Norm Nardini on vocals, Robbie Johns, and then an incredible guitar player named Warren King. And they put out their first album on Big Tree Records in 1975, and it's definitely pretty cheesy pop rock. They did have a minor hit with a cover song of Ain't That Peculiar. So the introduction to the band, unfortunately, is easily dismissed. But then in 1976, they signed to Kama Sutra Records and came out with an album called Dirty Diamonds. And that is the fucking motherlode. I think if you look at the front cover and they look like a disco roller skate band, and I think that the album would be a huge collectible if they had a lot more spectacular album cover. But that really spoils it. I know I overlooked it for a long time, thinking that they were a disco roller skate band, and then I actually checked it out, and I was floored. Not only is it just really snappy, killer hard rock from beginning to end. There's no ballads on it at all. But they do an incendiary version of the Beatles' Helter Skelter. And the singer just had a lot of swagger and a lot of panache. And Warren King is just a monster guitar player. The riffs on it and his playing are just spectacular. Completely ferocious guitar player. I'm surprised a lot more people don't know about him. I guess in Pittsburgh he's considered a monster, although he's passed away now. But the guitar work on this album, it's a lot of overdubs, so it's just massive, the guitar sound. But really great band, great arrangements. The vocals are great. The riffs are great. It's just the total package. And as I pointed out, if the front cover of the album wasn't so terrible, it would probably be a huge collector's item. And Kama Sutra really promoted the record. I mean, there was a U.S. Picture sleeve single for Boys Will Be Boys, and they also released a promo 12-inch from the record as well. And they were behind it enough too that it got released in Europe. They had the good sense in Europe to have it have a black and white cover to tone down the disco roller skate boy look, which I think was a wise move. But the album actually came out in Japan, and there's actually Japanese picture sleeve singles for Boys Will Be Boys as well. So they definitely got a push, but I never heard them played on the radio. And apparently they flopped. Kama Sutra dropped them pretty quick. And so 2 years after Dirty Diamonds, they released on their own label, 1978, the album Rough Cuts. And it's still got a lot of the band sound intact, but it's not produced as well. There's not the great overdubs, and the material's a little weaker, but it's still a worthy record. And but Dirty Diamonds is a monster, and anybody that likes great hard rock with incredible guitar work, you owe it to yourself to check them out. Anybody out there that's collecting might have passed it over a million times just because the cover is so terrible. And members of the band went on to a couple other bands, Norm Nardini and the Tigers, and the Silencers, who actually got a major label deal. And so those records are out there, but they pale in comparison to Dirty Diamonds by Diamond Rio. And they're pretty big stars in Pittsburgh. Everybody knows them there. And unfortunately, in this age, we have a ton of live material by the band, and I'll post all their stuff below. There is a ton of live material. Obviously, somebody associated with the band did a lot of recordings that stretch from 1976 all the way to 1979, and a lot of them are really killer. The one thing that surprises me about the live shows, though, is they don't do that many songs from Dirty Diamonds, which is really a shame because all the songs on Dirty Diamonds are just killer. So they mined all their other material, but the band is still just incredibly powerful, and some of the better recordings are really something to hear. So Diamond Rio, I know a lot. They're not on a lot of people's radars. Their records are slowly becoming collectible, but I've loved the album since it came out in 1976. And as I pointed out, I almost passed it over because the cover is so terrible. Have I mentioned enough times that the cover is really terrible? Um, but who knew what lurks within? The other thing that's kind of peculiar about it is it came out in 1976, and frankly, it sounds more like 1973 or 1974, and I just can't imagine how they could go through such a radical transition from that first mediocre record of basically more or less bubblegum pop rock, and then release such a monster as Dirty Diamonds. So I'll post it below. You can check it out for yourself. If you're into that kind of stuff and you haven't heard this record, you're going to be in for a big surprise. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music. I'm Brian Fox.